Hello there, everybody. So, Bada92, aka Nightmare, and welcome back to Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Well, looks like we're finally going to be dealing with Gaunt and his, I would say, his obvious corruption, but I learned a little bit more about how the SL9 incident occurred, especially with, I guess, Emma kind of repressed some memory because of the trauma, which I can kind of understand that. However, we also learned that Gaunt was actually hiding some key evidence, which, that's not necessarily really good. That's actually quite bad. Good God. Well, why should I even wait? Let's just do this. Let's do this. February 25th, 9:47 a.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby number 2. This is the defendant lobby, all right, but there's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if... That's right, Emma was left behind in Gaunt's office. Something's been happening behind the scenes. Oh, Edgeworth! Edgeworth! Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the multiple 7 ID number is, that is. Well, have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True. Not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, Wright, and Chief Prosecutor Sky will be found guilty. But she didn't do it! I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. That's because Edgeworth he's a good guy. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth? Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. I'm getting a strange sense of deja vu with the DL6. No, I totally agree, dude. Don't be stupid! Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, Wright. Okay, best buddy. This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gaunt has on her, it's now. February 25th, 10 a.m., District Court, courtroom number 9. All right. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief Gaunt. Morning, folks. How's everyone doing? Hey, Hedgie, I've been back to the pool yet?
No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work.
That's a good one. Don't think I can top that.
If you don't mind me asking, Chief, what exactly is this proposal of yours?
Dramatic pause. Lana, that is to say, the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court.
She wants to do what?
Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble.
You probably pressured her, using Emma as some sort of, bargaining tool. What's this all about, defendant? I'd just like to make one simple request, and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana!
Objection!
No, fuck you! You can't! Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana! Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please.
Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears that there is no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise.
This can't be happening. What kind of dirt does Gaunt have on her? It has to do with Emma.
It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant...
Objection!
Edgeworth!
One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth, the prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature.
Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut?
I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gaunt.
What?
Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes? Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes.
Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy.
I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness.
Oh? To whom?
Are we going to try to get it out of Gaunt?
As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye.
Oh!
I request the court hears her testimony.
Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to continue.
I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Very well. The court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gaunt?
Worthy, you'll live to regret this. Mark my words.
I dare you! Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand.
Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins.
Damn right!
Hey.
Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation.
My name is Emma. Emma Skye. My occupation? I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator.
2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dock of the Joe Dock killings. Is this correct?
Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though.
I'm sorry. But I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time.
Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman.
Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Extremely. Yes, it most certainly is.
Well, okay then.
Well, he sure gave in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago.
Oh boy. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun.
It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. Alrighty, let's do it.
I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me. But I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest.
In the chest? I don't remember you stating that. You said that it was a flash. You didn't get to see what actually happened. I don't have anything that kind of counters what she said, though. Huh.
It's a good thing you weren't on. I passed out. I don't remember much.
That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? Also, Marshall was stabbed in the back. That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You've got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. Sorry, Emma.
Hold it!
2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct?
Yes. She was second in command under then Deputy Chief of Police Gaunt. My sister. She was the best detective ever.
Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gaunt and Miss Sky used to be quite the pair. I believe they shared the same office.
That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day, too.
The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day.
Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work.
Hold it!
A man?
Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer.
Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest. When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? Upon fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky in Gaunt's office.
There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look. That's when I saw him.
Hold it!
What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were 2 people present during Dark's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gaunt and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Almost forgot about Gaunt. Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assumed that would also be why he was the first to run after Dark.
When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead.
And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in.
I don't clearly remember what happened then, but
Hold it!
Can you tell us about that?
Mr. Marshall just jumped on Dark. Just then, the lights went out.
The lights?
It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on, and lightning struck nearby.
So the electricity went out. Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right?
Right, but just then lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind.
I see.
I told the detective about what I saw then.
The detective?
Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case.
Detective Bruce Goodman, the victim. So, you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago?
Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial.
And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw?
Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. Yeah. That's why I drew a picture. Picture? Yes, I think she mentioned that before. Yeah, and I got it right... Yeah, I got it right here.
Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough?
Ask about the picture. This picture the witness drew, I believe it has a very important meaning.
Objection!
But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost.
Well, I can present that, so that's where I need to present it.
Hold it!
You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right? Yes, I wanted to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now. Whenever I close my eyes.
That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died, yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken?
But I did draw it, I swear. I'm not just imagining it. This picture that Emma drew, that reminds me. I guess I should check the evidence again.
Well, anyway, let's continue. The scene that imprinted an image in your mind. Can you please describe it to us?
The man.
Hold it!
That must have been a real shock.
Even now when I close my eyes, I can still see it just as clearly.
Tell us, what were you doing at that moment? I believe you testified that Joe Doc was holding you hostage.
When lightning struck and the lights went out, Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. I was thrown aside and the two began wrestling with each other. I'm pretty sure I was watching them.
Emma doesn't have any reason to lie, but Lana sure does. I need to get Emma to tell me as much about this as she can. Okay.
Objection!
Here we go. Mr. Edgeworth. This little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet, you would insist on denying its existence? Huh? I'm not the bad guy! All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold! This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident. Please turn it over, Your Honor. Turn it over. Ah! What is this? Yes, what is that?
Hey, that's it! That's the picture I drew!
Indeed. Two men appear to be wrestling here.
Objection!
What the fuck? What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. Huh? These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other. So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in that case ever reached you. What? What? Order! Order! But, Miss Sky, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list?
Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor.
Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor! Are you all right, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head. That's funny coming from you. Yes, honestly, your eyes are the ones that are budging under your head, boy. If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. Yes, that's quite conceivable. Mr. Edgeworth. It's possible. Let's see. Is something wrong? Do you even have to ask? Also, I slipped into my Edgeworth for the judge. Sorry, Your Honor. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing. Wow. That's that thing. That thing that was dancing in the evidence room. Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. I guess he was out of scrap paper. Evidence list restored and updated in the court record. Very well. Witness? No. Give me a minute. Actually, What if... That's an interesting picture. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago? Huh? Oh, yes, sir, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows, sorry. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind. Well, trauma affects people differently. Sometimes you can remember a very specific instant out of something that can be considered traumatic. It's kind of like your brain just literally etches it into your mind that you will never forget this. Or specifically this detail. I mean, hell, I have a few of those in my head. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dock about to murder prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. All right. Did you draw this picture right after the incident? I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first, I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything. During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Gaunt and Lana Skye. 2 or 3 days later, the memory should still have been fresh in her mind. Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black? So, at the time, you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue? No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright, and I was knocked to the floor. You were knocked to the floor? Dark had a tight grip on me, and when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed. Poor Emma. I'm just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed? You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place? No. I'm sorry.
Objection!
A flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further? What? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here! You're just saying what I just said! Anyway, this picture... Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Of course! This is the exact scene!
It wasn't influenced in any way from your talks with the detectives.
Objection!
Hey! Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright?
No, of course not. I better watch out or he might find some way to cut my salary.
I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me. Mr. Wright, is there something that's bothering you about this picture? Huh? Oh! Well...
It's strange. She claims it's exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind, and yet there's clearly a contradiction here. Yeah. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. Exactly what you saw in that instant. Oh no. Showed exactly what you saw in that instant, but how does... But what about this? Specifically... I don't know, this thing is bothering me. This doesn't seem right. Oh, shit, I didn't even get to read this. Oh, I did not realize I could. I thought it was just a... Oh, fuck, I'm an idiot. Name of deceased, Neil Marshall, 27 male. Date of time of death, February 19th between 7 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. That's relatively not that late. Cause of death, single stab wound piercing the heart and the lung. Assessment, died from blood loss in under 10 minutes. Weapon found in wound was missing the tip. Wait a minute, you said earlier that that he was stabbed in the chest, but according to this, he was stabbed in the back. Unless that was a typo, but hold on, let me present this.
Objection!
Okay, I was right, I think. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it just like it was yesterday.
Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report?
Oh, the knife tip. There's no knife tip to this thing. And this is before he was actually stabbed, so...
Take that!
The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. It's already broken off. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken.
Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright.
But, Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See, the murder weapon, its tip is broken too.
If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
It was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma.
Objection!
Wait. And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem?
It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken.
Ah! What's the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand.
Objection!
It was in his body!
Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there unless it was... Oh. What if after the initial stabbing, the knife tip was put in there. Like the knife tip was already broken from the knife. Oh. That's right. But what does this mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency, unless somebody planted the knife tip in there. After the murder. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already? About a little something called falsified evidence?
You're treading on thin ice, Wright.
All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility.
No.
Ah! Order! 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 Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honor, please allow me to once again look over the evidence, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gunn. I almost called him Joe Dork. Sorry. During this questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story there is a lie. I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. What are the chances of there being two broken knives? Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Could there have been one? Yes, there is! If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error. Mr. Wright. In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume then that you have some information about this other broken knife. If so, please feel free to enlighten us. The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here, inside this picture. This is a picture of the award.
This is a picture of the awards ceremony.
What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding. That's a broken knife. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award. Order! 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 That also explains the inconsistency about the knife wound and the murder weapon. There was one detail about the actual wound that Marshall sustained whenever he was murdered. There was an inconsistency in there. This explains the inconsistency. Neil Marshall was awarded the King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be! Oh? And why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors' award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh! Oh! But the prosecutor was the one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Wait, I remember now. I remember everything. Witness? Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please? His list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back. I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me. Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you've recalled, Miss Sky? Yes, Your Honor. First the knife mix-up, and now the blue badger? Wait a minute. Maybe that's why they even got the design for the blue badger in the first place. Gaunt, who basically took the other half of this picture that Emma had drawn, saw this and was like, oh, shit, okay, how the hell do I do this? Ah, I know, I shall make a mascot design based off this. And that's what he did to try to hide that. This should be interesting. Emma's recollection. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. Oh. This is certainly most unusual.
Objection!
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Try impossible! The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago. Yes, well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination. Stop, please! Don't pursue this any further! Lana! What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair. But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Sky. We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant. It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. Alright, here we go. I was not expecting Lana to just kind of shove herself in there.
Hold it!
When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark. Yes, at least I think it was him. You think? All I could really see were shadows. The power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports. So, then you... I panicked and rushed toward both of them.
Hold it!
Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. She seems convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But, as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that Dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I gotta help that other person.
Hold it!
What do you mean, you think? It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur. I never even thought of the possibility that she might have accidentally killed somebody. I have a feeling that's probably what's going to be brought up here. there's a possibility that she must have, in self-defense. That might explain why Lana is so desperate to hide it. All this time I thought that Damon Gaunt was just holding something above her head, but shit, this might actually be the thing that he's holding above her head. Miss Sky was almost killed before she was a witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person, who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife. What you did was very brave, young girl. So then, what happened next?
Hold it!
Are you sure about this? Of course. See? I even drew a picture of him here. But it was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The Blue Badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable. Sorry. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember. Oh, brother. Just when you thought that the thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing?
Hold it!
He wasn't even in the room? His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face? With its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns.
Objection!
Oh my god. This is pointless! That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken.
Objection!
No! I'm objecting your objection. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh? And I suppose you have an explanation? If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when that lightning flashed? Who is this Blue Badger, really? I have an idea. Okay. Just look at this for a minute. Okay. Okay, I got the head shape memorized here. What do I have in my evidence that shows the luminol? Or maybe it was clearly the screwdriver. Oh shit, I didn't realize that there was actually a broken piece right here. Huh. Is there anything inside the pot, actually, out of curiosity?
I see the hole!
Well, I mean, this is probably one of the only things aside from the shield that can cast a shadow, so... wait. No. Oh my god. I swear to god, if that's the answer, I'm gonna be really goddamn pissed. But also impressed. The Blue Badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture. Yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looks similar to the Blue Badger. But here's the question, why would that pot be in that... Why would it be like that? I mean, unless it was positioned weird. I saw it in this picture, so... no, that's not even up against anything, so it wouldn't be able to cause that sort of shadow. And judging by this, it was near that night. Which, oh, that's actually next to a window. If I'm remembering Gaunt's office layout here, that statue there of the armor was next to a window. So, how the hell would you get the pot to shape like the... Oh! I think I figured it out. That actually explains why the pot was shattered. It was used as a blunt object, but the way it was shaped when it was lifted... Oh! Wait, hold on. Okay, let me get this, Or hell, maybe it didn't even have to be, because as soon as the lightning flashed, its shadow was cast in that way, which means that it was... Actually, shit, it might have actually still been lifted, though. Alright. There indeed was something that looked similar to the blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright! In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious blue badger look-alike. May I present to you, Judge? Pot! No, thank you. I've already had a doobie earlier. What?
Take that!
The mysterious blue badger was, in fact, this! Oh, you meant that pot. Oh, okay, my bad. But that's, what exactly is that? I believe it's some sort of jar. But, Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? Gotta show them the correct angle to look at this from. Well, I literally did that, so, wait. Okay, This is kind of awkward. Oh, wait. Oh, I forgot. L&R buttons! I keep forgetting I can do that. I think I got it here.
Take that!
Well, is this a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger. No. It can't be! Order! Order! The defense have proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this. Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar? That doesn't change anything! It does! I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. It also explains why the blue badger was even designed in the first place, to cover it all up. Indeed. Very well then, please tell us, what's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? Okay, I didn't think that far ahead. I mean, I guess technically... I'm gonna do something here. I kind of want to see... If I get this wrong, I kind of want to at least eliminate each choice. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gaunt. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office.
It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gaunt's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gaunt's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now. Okay, I'm gonna load this up here real quick. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific. Oh wait, is it going to be the same thing here? Oh yeah, it's literally the location of the jar shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf now. Okay. I was kind of hoping that they would all be the different, but okay. Yeah, I was kind of hoping that it would be a little bit different, but I guess not. Okay. So basically, it doesn't matter which choice I was going to take in the end, which I guess I can kind of see that it's not. It gives you the illusion of choice, kind of. Definitely not Telltale's illusion of choice, but you know what I mean. I figured it out. This is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall wielding the King of Prosecutor trophy. No. Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes. There was another possibility of what actually transpired in that room. Another possibility? Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless. I don't know if I can go through with this. Mr. Wright? What's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall, she accidentally killed him. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Sky, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me,
Do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't.
Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence. If we don't have any evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony.
I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead.
We certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning! Touché, Miss Sky. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility?
What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth?
I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. In one manner or another.
That's impossible.
Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist? This. Wait. Well, I guess this. The dark red stains must be blood traces from the incident 2 years ago. Only the fragment found in Chief Gaunt's office still has lines remaining on it. That damn symbol. I've got to think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind is in the evidence. This message from the deceased is already in our possession.
Mr. Wright! Will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer?
Do not be mistaken, Miss Sky. Our purpose is to not accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek, the truth. No matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased.
Take that!
This is the message left by the deceased! This is that blue badger from before, right?
Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name?
If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here, on the surface of this jar. What do you mean? If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice, for some reason the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away.
Yes, there is a line here, drawn in blood.
So what you're saying is that these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. The luminol! Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points. And the victim's message will become apparent.
No.
Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer.
I've got to connect these dots to make letters.
There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances.
His murderer's name.
Oh, I was gonna use the luminol, but really? We're not gonna... Okay, can I... Wait, how do I... Oh! Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see it. Yep. Yep. I know what he did. He spelled out Emma's name. I can see the shape right now. Yep, there it is. I'm I'm not happy about it, but
Take that!
it's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. And I'm not happy about it. Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. I don't like it. I really don't like that.
See, Worthy, can't say I didn't warn you.
Chief Gaunt.
Do you understand the implications of what you've done?
What? What are you talking about?
2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but he used forged evidence to ensure his conviction.
Fuck you, Gaunt! But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable.
I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know we are defenders of justice?
What?
We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up of forgery evidence, even if there wasn't any cover-up of evidence forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutors in charge.
You're just escaping responsibility, you bastard!
Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied.
What's going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to death. How can he just stand there like it wasn't his fault? Order! 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 The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial is headed, no one knows. You think? Christ! I'm not happy about that. That was fucked. Holy crap, man. As soon as I saw the signs, I had a sick feeling that it was going to lead to Emma. It was an accidental murder. But Gaunt, he is pissing me off as almost as much, okay, maybe not as much as Karma did, but pretty damn close. He knowingly hid evidence, even if it was to protect Emma. No, it wasn't to protect Emma. They just wanted to get rid of Joe Dark. He was oh my god. They were that desperate, and now he's just shifting the blame on Edgeworth, who is just trying to do his job. God, fuck you, Gaunt. Just fuck you, man. Oh, shit, it's shaping up to be painful next. It's going to be very painful. Oh, God. Oh, God. I don't like this. I really don't like this. I was actually kind of hoping that we could actually spray the luminol, but no. Connect the dots. That'll do it. Oh, crap. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. I'm going to end it there. If y'all like this, be sure to let me know. I'm probably going to end up recording the next part immediately after I'm done with this. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'm going to go see you guys in the next video. Fuck!